He was elected mayor of the Junior Achievement Biztown community, where he addressed the entire fifth grade as its community leader. He loves to study math, enjoys creating online presentations, and is an avid reader of nonfiction. He is an extremely active student who loves to run during PE time and is a leader on campus who embraces Howard Pence's no excuses university belief for to attend a college of his choice one day. Mr. Lauer, if you could please come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. And please stand, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Lauer. And as we said, you're free to, you don't have to stay for the meeting. So, but we really appreciate you being here and as one of our best dressed young men so far. So very impressive. I'm assuming we'll be seeing you up here one day. Agenda changes, are there any agenda changes? Great.
Mr. Mayor, and I don't know whether this is allowed. I have a concern about one of the items that was on the consent calendar, but it's a technical concern. It's not a substantive one. It has to do with item 2.2, which is the item on the city employee compensation. And we did not receive an attachment that had changed language. It showed the changes, track changes in that item. And I just want to make that as a note. Rather than pull the item, I'd rather mention it to staff so that in the future, when we have a piece of legislation that's being changed, that we have the track changes with that item so we can determine whether we need to discuss it or not, especially on consent.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely. We usually do that. I apologize.
Great. And then we'll have announcements, reports, starting Mr. Bilbray, Mr. Patton.
Okay, quite a few, so I'll go through it as quick as possible. April 23rd, I attended the first annual Imperial Beach Community Expo at Sports Park. James from the Boys and Girls Club put on a great event about health and fitness, and it was a great turnout. If anybody went, I look forward to next year. In fact, he came to the meeting before and spoke about it a little, but it was amazing. And I at the last meeting I went to for South County, I said Imperial Beach is known for a lot of things. I think we're becoming known as a fittest community as well. So I like that, things like that. April 30th, I'll mention it briefly and hopefully other people get feet on it. Fiesta Del Mar, a huge hit for both locals and visitors. Thanks Ed Villa, staff, all the volunteers. Rosarito and Imperial Beach are definitely getting together greatly as a friendship agreement really should be. And we are friends and we're learning from each other. And I think that was great. And a big thanks to C180, Barrels, all the local restaurants really stepped up and went to the theme and started serving special Baja type dinners and drinks, whatever you like to drink during the week. And then South County EDC, where I'm a board member. Yesterday, Sandag talked about, I think we all know, how the traffic from Imperial Beach, from South County out is some of the worst in the county. And they're definitely looking at that and trying to figure out some ways to make it better through public transit and whatnot. Things that were mentioned at the meeting as well. Saturday, write this down, this is very important. Saturday, May 21st, 9 p.m., Carnation Street, Grunion Run. And they're going to have a group of people show up for a Grunion Run. And hopefully Captain Stamina can help me out so I can make sure nobody gets a lot of tickets. If you're 18 years old, you need a fishing license. I think, yes? Right, 18 and over, you need a fishing license. So I think I might send them a little message saying, get a fishing license. But they thought that was just a big deal. So 9 o'clock, the 21st, 9 p.m. Also, the 22nd of May, the Port of San Diego is giving free, and they really emphasize this, free boat rides and bus tours of the whole port facility. And if you want to get on that, space is limited. Go to portofsandiego.org and you can get onto a spot, get on a boat, and take a tour of the bay. Free. And another free event, Crown Cove, May 22nd, is also having a free water sport and safety event where you could try out kayaks, paddle boards, stand-up rigs, and whatnot. Kids also get a free life jacket, and that's again free. And then finally, I know I'm talking a lot. Finally, this Friday, 9 p.m., Shark Tank, a show I love to watch, and someday we'll be on. Not yet though. One of our locals, Randy Putman, he has an invention called a spooner, and it's a spoon, like a spoon without the handle. And you step on it and you twist and turn. And my kids in my classroom use it, and schools use them. Anyway, he's on Shark Tank this Friday at 9 p.m. So if you get a chance, check it out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patton. Ms. Bragg?
Thank you. You're a tough act to follow. I just would like to invite the community to our groundbreaking ceremony tomorrow at 10 o'clock. This is the groundbreaking for our breakwater project. And to be at this point in our lives, we have been working on this. Yeah, Zeke, you remember, we've been working on this since 2005. It's now 2016. So to be able to stand tomorrow, with shovels in our hands and to really celebrate this coming to fruition, I invite all of you to be there. I know there's going to be quite a bit of coverage for this. For Imperial Beach, this is huge that we are able to have this groundbreaking ceremony. And I don't ever want to lose sight of the fact of the number of jobs that this project will create. So I hope to see you all there tomorrow at 10. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Briggs?
Just to reiterate what Councilmember Patton said, the Fiesta Del Mar was, for the first time doing this event, was really a fabulous event. The city, businesses really stepped up. We had extra sheriff support there, which was fabulous. Thank you very much for that. And the food was outstanding. The music was great. I can't think of, the weather turned out to be better. Got good as well. I mean, what a blessing that event was, and how. So I have to give the mayor credit for this, because his initiative, it was his initiative to establish this relationship with Rosarito that has led to, this is part of the evolution of that relationship. And it's obviously very good for both cities. My only concern, Mr. Mayor, is if we're going to reciprocate every other year and we have to go there, will we be able to rise to that level of talent and everything that they demonstrated here?
They are overwhelming in their amount of people they have working for them.
They're amazing.
Well, and Councilman Spriggs, if any of the council members need blackmail on the mayor, I have video of him dancing, and it was a bad sight, but I do have it on video. So if you need to get even with him, I've got it.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So the mayor of Rosarito was also very there, and some of his people, and they were very, very pleased and impressed with how we put on the event here in Imperial Beach. So I think we're off to really a great start. This is an item of, next item, and the only other item is a little bit of controversy because we don't have an agenda item for it, but I'll just mention it to the city council that on Monday evening, I noticed an email from the League of California Cities coordinator of the Coastal Cities Interest Group, which I'm a member of. And this had to do with the some legislation that's pending that would grant greater powers to the Coastal Commission, as well as a 3 new members that would be appointed by various state officials, the main purpose of the 3 new members and the 3 um, and the powers is to give the Coastal Commission more of a perspective on low-income communities and the way that its environmental stewardship and the issues that give rise to its environmental stewardship affect low-income communities and poor people. The league is going to have to take a position on it, and they want to the locals, the Coastal Cities Interest Group is being asked to give its views first, since they're affected directly by this. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. It's one of these things that has such a short time fuse, we can't agendize it for a discussion, but I'm just bringing it to your attention. My inclination is to believe that the league will not support it because it imposes it grants additional powers to the Coastal Commission and imposes additional reporting responsibilities to the cities. And that combination is typically one not favored by the league when it comments on state legislation. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. And just to update on the Fiesta Del Mar, first, it was a real team effort, and Ed Villa and the whole city staff really pitched in, as well as the sheriffs. We didn't have a single incident. I think there was some issues with a dog bite or something, but it was a great crowd. And C-180 and the Cone Group really stepped up, and the Pier South with the PR. So it'd be good to tabulate what the sort of hits were on the media hits, because we got a lot of TV and good coverage, a great article in the San Diego Tribune. So it was just all good, positive for the PR for Imperial Beach, and a great time. And we had great support from the port. They were very happy about it. They really were glad that they sponsored it, as well as Greg Cox, county supervisor, was really happy about sponsoring it as well. So that was really great. The Amgen Tour of California, one of the world's premier bike races, will pass through Imperial Beach on May 15th. Is that at 1 p.m.? Noon? I think it's around noon, right?
Mayor, I was given some information today on that. It appears that the race will enter Imperial Beach at 12:25.
Okay.
It'll turn left onto Seacoast Drive from Palm Avenue at 12:29. The race turns left onto Imperial Beach Avenue from Seacoast at 12:30, and then the race will leave Imperial Beach at 12:34. We will have areas set aside at the Palm Avenue street end and at the Ivy Boulevard and Seacoast locations. Those are the corners. Apparently, that's the best place to view the race. So we've also ordered a couple hundred cowbells and noisemakers, because that's what they do in bike races. So if kids want to come out, we'll have some cowbells, more cowbells for the kids at the race as well. And then we're going to have a community bike race afterwards. Bike ride. But it's Mayor's organized, so we're looking forward to working with him on that. The road will be closed from probably early in the morning until about 1 o'clock in the afternoon today.
Okay.
Seacoast.
So that should be great. That's a great event. And we have, this is an international tour, organized by people who organize the Tour de France. So they have put us in their videos. We're in all their promotional materials. We're in all their maps. We're part of a select group of California cities that they pass through, including Morro Bay on the 18th. So, and they go up the Highway 1. So it's a really great California event. And I'm really glad that the city staff really facilitated there, and our sheriffs being here.
Great
So
point. It is on TV, NBC Sports Network from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. that day.
Wow.
So,
And,
yeah.
and what's the date again, please?
May
I'm sorry,
15th,
May
Sunday the
15th,
15th.
that's a Sunday.
And then we have a whole series of athletic events coming up. We had that great event on the 23rd that I couldn't attend. We have Global Wellness Day on June 11th. We have a CrossFit competition on June 4th at the pier. That should be a great event. And that was something I saw last year in Encinitas and pitched them coming to IB. We're hopefully bringing the Ironman 73. We took them from Coronado, and they're going to be based in IB. They love IB, so we're working on that. So that's awesome. Apparently, one of the hotels in Coronado didn't welcome them back and didn't thank them for spending all their money there. So they like IB. And then, am I missing? I think those are the big ones for the summer. So anyway, it's very exciting to see all this athletic activity going on in IB. Sun and Sea Festival, sorry, that's July 16th, right? 17th, 18th, and July 16th. You're all welcome to my pier swim and The 15th, sorry, 15th, Pier Swim and walk. We're doing a walk run. Is that right, Councilmember Bragg?
Yes, and our history booth. at
Yes,
Pier Plaza.
history booth. Yes. So I'm hoping that council members Patton and Bilberry join me again. That was great. And great having our former mayor, Brian Bilberry as well there last year. And then finally, Sandag. So Councilmember Patton mentioned some of the issues about Sandag. We were at the last meeting, Councilmember Briggs and I, and the board moved forward with a half-cent sales tax to propose a half-cent sales tax initiative to fund public transportation and other roadway improvements and transit options. Imperial, I'd like to have the next council meeting where we have a discussion about that. I'm assuming Sandag give a presentation or something so we can go through that. It's not any way finally decided, but Imperial Beach could potentially get a lot of money on that. And more importantly, as I noted, and I think it's been made very clear to me, a lot of the significant early investment would be in the South Bay. That would include expanding Blue Line, the Highway 5 line to have more service, starting the Purple Line along the 805, having a BRT rapid transit bus system, HOV lanes, and then potentially, I think, $25 to $30 million invested in our roads. So I think it's a great deal for Imperial Beach. So, and then finally, as predicted, the river mouth continues to close. We are working with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to try to keep the river mouth open. I think since Saturday, it has been open and closed Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 4 times. It's a major significant problem that the Fish and Wildlife Service is now working with a whole host of agencies to try to figure out how to get some additional money and support, especially equipment. But I want to thank our Public Works Department, our lifeguards, for their help on that. We've been helping out Fish and Wildlife Service with the tractor, basically to help move sand around, but it's definitely a problem. We're going to avoid any flooding, especially with potential rain on Saturday. And as Andy Ewan of the Fish and Wildlife Service said today, apparently only rains on the weekends. So, and that's what we need to worry about as a rain event. So that's it. And then I have a speaker slip. Oh, I'm sorry. Any other additional staff comments?
I believe there are a couple. Mr. Levine would like to introduce one of his new employees. And then I believe Mr. Dish has something to say. Or is it? Oh, Jim's going to announce an upcoming event as well.
Mayor and council, many of you will remember Mike King had been with the City Fleet Division for 35 years or so, retired last July. And then I introduced to you a few months ago that Mike Murphy had been fleeted up to the Fleet's Division Supervisor, and we've subsequently then advertised for his replacement. And I have tonight here, I'm very pleased to have introduce Angel Rodriguez, who is hired as a new Fleet Mechanic 2 in the city. He is a young man. He's a graduate of Auto Tech School, both here at Southwestern and Los Angeles. And he had experience with MTS and El Cajon. And then he worked for us as an intern, or not intern, but as part-time for a number of months while we're going through the replacement of Mike King and then replacement for the Mechanic 2. Very pleased to introduce Angel Rodriguez.
And then Mayor, Mr. Nakagawa wanted to talk about a meeting that we'll be having next week with the City Council and other boards in our community dealing with sea level rise.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. I think most of you probably attended our first public workshop November 17th on sea level rise and El Nino. Record turnout, probably over 350 people there. That was the first of 2 that we had scheduled. The second one is coming up on May 11th, Wednesday, from 6 to 7:30. And we're following up on the sea level rise portion of that, where we had we just received some of our climate modeling work, but we weren't ready to present that to the public. So after we've had a chance to digest that information, we're ready to share that with the public. And that covers a component of our sea level rise study called the vulnerability assessment. The next step is to let people know of the adaptation strategies that we might be able to conceivably try to get a handle on as well. And so our consultant team is prepared to do that at our next workshop. So we encourage everyone in the audience. I think I've sent out enough of a email blast and a newspaper notice to kind of let everyone know about it. Thank you very
Great,
much.
thank you very much. Any other presentations or announcements? Great, thank you. We have a speaker slip. We have Mark Camosi. You want to, and again, you have 3 minutes, and just please state your name. And I know Mr. Camosi is with his dog. That's the first dog that I've seen as a guest at our council meeting since I was elected. Anyway,
Hello, my name's Mark Camosi, and we'd like to have a dog park across
I'm
the
sorry, and your
street.
dog's name?
Oh, Monique.
Okay.
There's a lot of us in the morning about 9:30. We go to the VA park, and we love to have a little fenced area for the dogs to walk around and run around. And we would really appreciate that. So I have no idea if you're working on that idea or not, or.
Yeah, one of the things I would encourage you to do is get involved with our Parks and Recreation Committee, because one of the things they are currently reviewing is a needs assessment that was done in the community. And it was different recreational needs. And I know the dog park is one of the things that they're looking at.
Yeah.
They meet, I believe it's the second Monday of each month. But if you will give me your contact information, we'll make sure to get you involved. Oh, you've got it right here.
Right there.
I will get back to you and make sure that you get invited to the next Park and Recreation meeting, because they're going to go through the needs assessment and identify where the priorities should be in the community and make a recommendation to this board.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Great, thank you very much. Good. That's always the first. Well, was the first for me, anyway. Now we have no more speaker slips, right? We have the presentation section of the evening. We have 1.1 and the presentation of proclamation recognizing the month of May as Neurofibromatosis Awareness Month. And I want to thank Susana Villegas for being here, representing the national organization, who made me aware of this. Thank you very much. And I'll just read some of the proclamation, and I'll try to pronounce the word correctly. Neurofibromatosis, NF, causes tumors to grow on nerves anywhere in the body, bone and skin tumors, bone deformities such as spinal scoliosis, leg bowling or twisting, cafe au lait spots on the skin, deafness, blindness, learning disabilities, debilitating pain, heart defects, and even death. And NF is more prevalent than cystic fibrosis, Duchenne muscular dystrophy, Tay-Sachs, and Huntington's disease combined. It can appear in any family, is worldwide in distribution, affects both sex equally, and has no particular racial or ethnic distribution, and 85% of cases are sporadic. While over 120,000 Americans have NF and one of over every 3,000 newborns will develop a disorder, it is still relatively unknown to the public, and much remains to be done to raise awareness of NF's devastating effects and the need for funding for research to prevent, treat, and cure NF. Whereas the Children's Tumor Foundation leads the efforts to fund critical research aimed at finding the causes of the disorder and developing treatments and a cure, and to provide support to people and families affected by NF. And whereas NF research benefits an additional 100 million Americans, and the Children's Tumor Foundation observing May as National Neurofibromatosis Awareness Month nationally to inform the public about this common genetic disorder. I, Sarah Stadina, Mayor of the City of Imperial Beach, hereby, together with our City Council, hereby proclaim May 2016 as Neurofibromatosis Awareness Month in the City of Imperial Beach. And this copy of this proclamation we presented to the Children's Tumor Foundation as a token of our deepest respect and recognition of this organization's work to find a cure for neurofibromatosis. Yeah, did you want to come and get it? I guess. Thank you so much. Oh, that's fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we have item 1.2, and that's presentation of proclamation and recognition of National Public Works Week. And I'm going to present this to Hank Levine. By the way, we have one of the most awesome public works department anywhere. It's a pleasure to see our public works staff and our public works director and all the joy and passion they have for keeping our streets spotless and doing a great job. It's been a pleasure. One of my biggest pleasures as mayor is just being get to know you better, Mr. Levine, and also see your staff all the time. And I see them really early because I'm out on the beach really early. They're always smiling and they're in the, in a sewer pipe and digging ditches and doing stuff. They're always really happy. So and maybe it's just with me, but anyways, I just get a really good feeling from our public works department. More importantly, I think all of us agree they do a great job in our city. We just have to go to San Diego and see how much better our city is taken care of and our roads are taken care of than when you just cross the street into San Diego. So anyway, National Public Works Week. Public Works always there is from May 15th to 21st, whereas public works services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives, and the health, safety, and comfort of this community greatly depends on these facilities and services, and the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, is vitally dependent upon the efforts and skill of public works officials, and the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. So I urge Dina, Mayor of the City of Imperial Beach, together with our City Council, hereby proclaim the week of May 15th to 21st, 2016, as National Public Works Week. So I'm going to present this to Mr. Levine. Okay. Like an all-star cast this evening. And now on point 3, we have a presentation on Navy matters by Captain Mulvihill from Naval Base Coronado, Executive Officer on Navy matters. And I'm just going to read. The problem with having folks from the Navy is that we get these bios that are like pages long because you're so accomplished. But anyway, I will just read a part of it. Captain Scott Mulvihill has over 3,000 flight hours and over 800 carrier landings. He has been awarded the Defense Superior Service Medal, Meritorious Service Medal, the Joint Service Commendation Medal, the Air Medal with Combat 5, Navy Commendation Medal with Combat 5, and other personal and unit awards. He's originally from Shelby Township, Michigan, graduated from Michigan State University, and he attended Aviation Officer Candidate School and served as a student pilot in VT6, VT19, and VT17, earning his Naval Aviator designation in March 1995, and attended the Top Gun Strike Fighter Tactics Instructor course, and then reported to Strike Fighter Weapons School Atlantic. Let's see. He once joined, I'm sorry, it's so impressive. I'm going to read more of it. It's really, really impressive. He joined VFA 15 in May 2001 as a training officer during JTG 2-01 on board the USS Enterprise. The Valiants and the CVFW 8 team were called upon to execute the first combat missions into Afghanistan during Operation Enduring Freedom. After this deployment, he was presented with the Association of Naval Aviation Officer Junior Leadership Award. It goes on and on, but you have a really impressive resume and bio, and so thank you for your service to our country.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. That was a very nice introduction. I got to tell you, I certainly didn't do it by myself. In the Navy, we are a team, and as you can see by my first slide that we have up here, I actually love this slide. So top left, you can see the Naval Air Station North Island has been around a while. Next year marks our 100th anniversary of being a Naval Air Station. So we've been here and been part of the community for a long time. Continuing around, we see a helicopter flying out there. Next month, we have 2 squadrons returning from their deployment. They've been gone for over 6 months. They've been executing the nation's tasking in the South China Sea and around the world, so we're excited to get them home. Also with the helicopter, we cannot train our aviators without the facilities that we have in your city. So thank you very much for that. It's essential as we continue on. A big aircraft carrier in the middle. The Carl Vinson just left, got underway yesterday after 6 months in port doing maintenance. So they are now underway and they're flying jets right now, get everyone requalified and getting ready to go out to sea and take care of nation's business. On the bottom left, we have a sad story this week because we did lose a Navy SEAL in combat operations. And he was a member of our community, he was a member of our base. Our hearts go out to them and their local family that's here also. So I'd like to take a few minutes to talk to you about what the Navy is doing right now. And we want to be very transparent on what we're doing, and we're going to give you some tools to help with that as we go through here. We can get the next slide, please. So we have a couple different websites set up for access. And like I said, we're very transparent on what we're doing on there, what the base is doing, upcoming events. You can follow us on Facebook. You can like us if you'd like, but we put out constant information on there so that when we know there's going to be late night training, if there's a Hell Week kicking off, if we're going to be doing loud ops out in the bay, we put that out there to be good neighbors because we are going to do the training, but we want to make sure that no one's surprised about what's going on out there. And we also have a Twitter account that you can follow as you go through there. So we're trying very hard to be proactive on our social media stance, and we can also receive information from you through that venue as we go through. For the next one, if you'd like to send a letter to Captain Steve Barnett, and that applies to anyone, please do. The captain can't be here tonight. He's executing some well-deserved leave out in Washington, D.C. with his family, so we're very glad to get him home for a little while, get some downtime, and he sent me in his stead. Our public affairs officer is wonderful, Sandy DeMunick. She's more than happy to work with you on any questions or issues you have go through there. Wes Bomia, you're familiar with him. He is wonderful as our community plans and liaison officer. We have two different websites and a phone line set up. One is for the noise complaints. So if there's noise complaints, we want to hear about them. We investigate each and every one of them to verify that our pilots are complying with the rules that we have established as we go through there. So we're very responsive on that, and we are very sympathetic to it. We want to make sure that we are doing our best to be good neighbors as we execute our required training events. And then finally, if there's also information on the coastal campus development that's coming up, and I'll touch on that more here in a moment. Next one, please. You may see two new structures going up around our different bases here, and we call them the giant voice system. They're very similar to the structure that you have in the back here, and it's simply a loudspeaker. We've designed this to help get information out in case bad things are happening. So we'll use it if we have any sort of bad weather coming, if we have any sort of emergencies going on the base. We can use it for internal communications, and we can also use it to help make sure the community gets information out too. So we're trying to work on that outdoor broadcasting capability that goes through there. So you'll see a couple of them popping up. We've got a couple pictures coming up where they're going to be, but that allows us to communicate best with our people on our bases, and then we can also share the information by adjusting the volume and direction with the communities. If you go to the next slide, you'll see what we're building. These are two new towers that we're building down at NIB. We have two different towers for them as we go through here. You can anticipate we will do test broadcasts on them. We do have a volume control on it, so we're not looking to blast anybody out like a Van Halen concert. We're trying to be good, but we want to make sure that the systems are working. And you can anticipate that we'll start that testing here during the month of May. We will also anticipate doing some playing colors from the one that's internal to the base, so that we'll hear that in the morning as we go through. Next slide, please. Coastal campus is coming along. So as you drive on the Strand, you can look up and you can see some vertical development happening. And you can also see that we're knocking the bunker down. So we're making progress on both of our initial projects as we go through here. So we're going to experience a significant increase in activity next year primarily. So 2017, we'll have a lot of structures being built. That is when we hit it in earnest. So once we get that bunker demolished, that is when we can really start putting some effort into building around that area. So right now, the indoor shooting range is in great shape. We anticipate that one being done here in the very near future. You can see the different footprint that we have going on up here. The gray blob in the middle is the bunker, and that's what we're working on taking down right now. And then the blue blob there, which says Cat X on it, that's the indoor shooting range that's being developed. But we have other footprints that are being prepared as we go through. For the next slide, you'll see that we'll have 2017. That's when we'll really start putting some more projects up. So those items in blue will be the ones that we start building and make a lot of progress on next year. Finally, if we get one more slide, please. So for the coastal campus, again, we're being very transparent with this. If you go to this website, you'll see the environmental impact statement is posted online for anyone's review. Additionally, the record of decision is posted there. You can also get an idea of what the structures are going to look like and what the area will look like as we go through there. We are working the north entry control point continually. We're in close coordination with Caltrans as we do that. And in the next few weeks, we'll be working with the city staff regarding our objectives and development of that intersection because we know it's a big deal. We want to make sure that we're minimizing impact as we continue through there. So we are keenly aware of that, and we look forward to continue to engage with Caltrans and with the City Council on that as we continue forward. Finally, my last slide on this. We are your Navy, so we very much appreciate everything you do with us and for us, and we try to do the same for you as we go through here. This is one of our outreach techniques. We want to make sure that people know how to get in touch with us so they can coordinate their concerns, their issues, and their questions as we go through here. So we're neighbors and taxpayers and citizens just like everybody here. We just have more bling. So that's the only difference I think that we have in there. That's all I have for you today. Any questions or comments, I'm happy to take.
Any questions or comments? Yeah, Mr. Patton.
Thank you very much, and for the transparency. I think it's been going that way since the get-go on this. all the information you gave me or gave us about the websites, phone numbers, that might be good on our website. Because I was trying to write them down, I couldn't.
Yes,
So, yeah.
we have no problem with you posting the website information and
Okay.
sharing that information.
Okay,
freely. We're
excellent.
happy
You
to
know,
do
I
that.
think it'd be perfect. The giant voice speakers, I know, I was kind of looking at it upside down, but they're both closer to the helicopter area, right? 13th Street. Is that where they're at?
That's great. One is on right next to the exchange.
Okay.
And then the other one is a little bit further. It is up on 13. I think it's on 13th Tower Road. So it's inside our property, but it is abutting against there.
Will there be one placed at Coastal Campus? Because I think that hit our north end of our community at some point.
There's currently not a plan for one there yet, but we will put one there
Because I
eventually.
live close to there. I'd like to find out what's going on.
Okay. I'll get you more information on that.
Okay,
So
I
I'll
think,
let you know what the time frame is for that one, but that one's a little bit further downrange.
Yeah, I'm
because
sure.
We're worried about the other
But something to
construction
think
there.
about.
Okay.
Okay,
We'll
thank
get you that answer.
Continued updates. Do you plan on visiting us once in a while and giving us updates here and there?
Absolutely. We're more than happy. Skipper Barnett or myself are happy to come down here. Wes is always on the hook.
Okay.
We're happy to come down when you'd like us, and we can also come up with a normal battle rhythm of quarterly, monthly, whatever you would like.
I think everybody loves to hear from you. So
We are customer service, so we'll come down
You
here
guys are
once a
great.
month if you want to see us.
And I think the one thing I drive in the Strand every day. I think everybody in this audience probably knows. Sometimes, when you have the full crew of cars that just left over on Rainbow, it's like 60, 80 cars going. And then sometimes we have a vehicle pull out from Coastal Campus, say it dually, full right in front and go, just kind of maybe not thinking like, okay, I just drove in front of 80 cars, but I'm going 40 miles an hour.
Right.
Maybe if we could kind of think of some, just, I don't want to say courtesy, just some, just ways that we could say, you know what, if you're pulling out, let the mass go by, then we slide out. So I've seen it more than once, and I don't yell and scream about it, but I'm sure maybe you might get some people, and we want to be positive about everything.
And that's a great point. We want to be very much want to be good neighbors,
Right,
and
exactly.
I'll certainly talk to the crowd down there, the construction crews, make sure, hey, let's help out here and
Yeah.
be considerate of others.
And talk about your Navy, our Navy. Thank you for being here. That's all I have. Thank you very much, Captain.
No problem. Thank you.
Other comments, Mr. Spriggs?
Thank you very much, Captain, for being here. And, early on in your introduction by the mayor, I was thinking Top Gun, and then he mentioned Top Gun. That was really, really cool. But it's really a pleasure to have you here, and your attitude and approach about transparency and being available is very, very much appreciated. I'll echo my colleagues' comments there. I just wanted to explore a little bit more, as you might predict, the tower loudspeakers that are at the Nolf base, and what impact they may have on the neighborhoods right there, who are the best evidence of good neighborliness is how people accept the helicopters. And the only times we really have had difficulties is when the overflight patterns changed, and they were flying over the residences, and this was a couple years back. But I'm a little bit concerned about those towers when they're being tested, and if they are going to be, first, when they're being tested. Secondly, if they're going to be used for sort of routine announcements at various times during the day or evening, is because those could actually propagate a lot of noise into the neighborhoods.
We do not plan on using them at all for routine announcements. So it's colors, taps, and then bad news. So we aren't going to say, hey, there's a special at the galley today, come on down and get chicken and wings. We are not using it for routine announcements. It is simply for emergencies and for colors and taps at night. So I appreciate that, and we don't want to abuse it. We don't want to do that at all.
Okay.
We want to make it so that when it goes off, people pay attention. Hey, something's happening here.
Okay. But there will be some initial testing.
Yes, sir, there has to be, so we can figure out, hey, how is it? How's the volume? How's the direction on it? Does this thing work? So we'll be looking for your feedback on that. We're receptive to it. Like I said, we want to be good neighbors, but we also need to make sure we have the ability to broadcast emergency information to our people.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any additional questions or comments? Thank you so much, Captain, for your presentation. And how often do we have the Naval Base Coronado come and give us about once a year, right? Is that right?
They've been coming a couple times a year. If you'd like to make it quarterly, we could do that. They're always willing to come. So all we have to do is ask, and they're always willing to come share information.
Great.
We're happy to push information. I'm also happy to stand up here and answer questions for X amount of time. So anything you'd like.
And we appreciate all the information you're giving us on the new coastal campus, and more importantly, with the issue with the sewer service and Coronado. I know the Navy's been very helpful on that, so thank you.
Awesome. If I could ask, Wes will push you some slides tomorrow. Those will be the slides that I'd ask that you post. So we don't want all these posted, but if we can give you here, we'll get you a couple more informational slides, simply 4 points of contact. So we'll get you a good product to send out tomorrow.
Sounds fine. Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Great. Consent calendar now, items 2.1 and 2.4. I would like to entertain a motion to approve consent calendar item number 2.1 and 2.4.
Second.
Motion carried unanimously.
Great. Before the next item, I just want to ask the city manager a quick question. Okay. Thank you. Okay, now item 3.1, public hearing to consider ordinance 2016-1156, adopting the 5-year FY17 through FY21 sewer service charge. Sorry. Declare the public hearing open. City Manager Hall will give the report.
Mayor and council, at the consent of the council, there is a second public hearing tonight to discuss the capacity fee for the sewer. And without any dissension, we'd like to operate both those public hearings at the same time because they're very related subject matter, but they will require 2 separate motions at the end. If that's okay, we'll just proceed with both of those public hearings at the same time. I think it makes sense. Yeah, that would be good to read 4.1 and open it as well. I think it'll save some confusion. No, I don't. I think just without dissent, we'll just operate them concurrently.
Sorry. 4.1, public hearing to consider adoption of resolution 2016-7703, setting the sewer capacity fee at $5,373.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The mayor has just read the introduction, so I'll move forward to a warning. One of the things that we've been asked to do is not to put just text on a slide, but rather have pictures. And so we wanted to talk about the sewer department tonight, and it all starts here. And then we move to follow the flush, and I'm just kidding you. This is not a presentation where we're going to have a lot of pictures. So we wanted to talk a little bit about the sewer fee and start with the fact that the sewer department is an enterprise fund. And sometimes we say that and a lot of people don't understand what we're talking about, but an enterprise fund essentially is a separate fund from the city's general fund. And it's basically a closed fund, and all the revenues and expenditures in that fund can only be used in the sewer department. So any of the fees that we're talking about tonight are only fees that can be used to operate or maintain the sewer system. They cannot be used for general government. So we had a meeting with a resident recently, and there was some concern about whether or not these fees would be used for street improvements or other improvements in the community. They cannot be. They can only be used to operate and maintain the sewer system. So I think that that's an important distinction, and we appreciate the input that we received from the residents. So the why, why do we need to raise the sewer fees? And I think that's an important conversation to have. There are established sewer policies in the city that the city council has established, and I think for good reason. The first one is a $2 million emergency fund reserve. And this allows emergency repairs to take place without having to go out and borrow money or to bond for the improvements. Instead, we believe that we have enough money set aside so that if we have another incident like we did at Rainbow Drive last year, that was about $1 million emergency that we had to go out and fix. But we had an emergency reserve. We didn't have to go borrow money. We didn't pay interest on that money. We were able to repair that. We believe that most repairs to our system could be in the $1 million range. There could be 2 at the same time. We wouldn't anticipate that there would be more than 2. So we support and think that the city council was right on when they established the $2 million emergency fund reserve. And part of the increase in the fees tonight will allow us to build that reserve to $2 million. Right now, it stands short of that. And this will allow us to build that fund up within a period of 5 years. So it'll take us about 5 years, but we'll get that emergency reserve fund back where it should be. We also need some additional revenue to cover the operational costs. Now, a big portion of that increase is the increased fees that we're going to have to pay to the city of San Diego to treat our sewer. We don't have a sewer treatment plant. Our sewer, as you know, is lifted and goes primarily almost 100% to the Point Loma Treatment Center. And so in order to do that, we've got to pay the city of San Diego to treat our sewer. And so it's important that we cover those operational costs. And then finally, the city council wanted to make sure that we are generating enough revenue to take care of the capital improvements to our sewer system. Right now, we have a lot of infiltration in our sewer system. There's a lot of groundwater and a lot of seawater that's being treated. So essentially, it's not just that it's being treated, it's very costly to lift that water into the system, then ship it to Point Loma, and then they're treating the clean water and we're paying for that treatment. So to the extent that we can eliminate or at least reduce the infiltration into our sewer system, we're going to be able to save people a lot of money down the road. But we do have an older system. A lot of our system is still clay pipe, four-foot sections of clay pipe. And over time, whether that's small earthquakes or maybe roots from trees or other things, the joints in that pipe sometimes leak. And so what we're trying to do is get all of our pipes either lined or replaced so that we can eliminate or reduce the infiltration that we have in the community. So we wanted to talk a little bit about how we came up with this number. And what we wanted to do was, again, make sure that we've covered our operational costs, put enough money in the CIP, which was determined to be about $400,000 per year. We need to have at least between $400,000 and $600,000 a year to keep up with the improvements that need to be made to the system. And then also to rebuild your $2 million reserve fund. And so the fee you see before you tonight would allow us to not only absorb the cost that we will be seeing a sizable increase from the city of San Diego in 2017, but it also allows us to build that reserve fund, like I mentioned, within 5 years. So it allows us to get back to that facility within this scoping period. As you know, most of the time when we go out and do a sewer study, we do it for a 5-year period. And so that will allow us by the end of this period to have that reserve fund back where it should be.
Mr. Hall, if I may.
Yes.
Why is it 5 years? Why not 10?
We could do 10. The concern we have is that given the history of our system, we can expect to have emergency repairs usually about one every other year. So right now we have about $1 million, and you guys know because we have to come to you and ask for additional funding. Right now we have enough in our reserve for another emergency, but if we had 2 within a 5-year period, which we likely will, we don't have enough in reserve to cover both of those without raising the fee.
What is the amount of the reserve currently?
Currently, I believe we are at about 1.6. Where's Doug at? Oh, right there. About 1.6 million right now. But we just completed another emergency reserve, so there'll be a draw on it. It's pump station 11, Hank. Do I have the number right? Pump station 10. You'll remember we had to come to you a couple of months ago and do that. So thanks, Hank. Appreciate that. So the second public hearing, I wanted to talk a little bit about that. When the city council first adopted the capacity fee or the impact fee, which only applies to new development, we only adopted the city of Imperial Beach portion of that fee. So essentially the capacity fee that we have to pay to be part of the San Diego system was not adopted by the city council. Now in short, what that means is that the residents of the community are subsidizing the new development. We don't think that that's appropriate. We think that the new development should have its full pay-in cost because again, the residents in the community have been paying into the system year after year after year. So when new development comes in, we've calculated a fee for them for basically a buy-in cost. And that's what this fee is. In this capacity fee, we're proposing that we increase it to $53.73. And what that will do is make sure that new development as it comes online is paying its fair share of the cost of the system as they buy into the system. So again, there are 2 separate public hearings, but they both affect the sewer department. So we wanted to make sure that to avoid confusion to have the 2 public hearings together. And then secondarily, just remember that they do require 2 separate motions. So following the public input that we have tonight, staff is asking the city council to consider adoption by separate motions. the introduction of ordinance 2016-1156, which would establish the 5-year sewer service charge. And then we would set that date for a second reading, which would be at your May 18th meeting. And then resolution 2016-7703, establishing a sewer capacity fee. That's a resolution. There would not be a second reading. If you take action on that item tonight, it would be adopted. So just want to make sure we point out the difference between an ordinance and a resolution. An ordinance takes, the city council has to review it and look at it twice. A resolution, the city council just looks at it one time. So if you pass the resolution, it would be effective after tonight. The ordinance would take a second reading. If you don't have any, and then there's certainly alternative action. If the council needs more information to make a well-informed decision, staff can bring you more information. So if there's no initial questions of the mayor or city council, we're look forward to any public comment that we might receive on this item. That's absolutely.
Just have one suggestion. Because this is a significant increase in the sewer fee and then the capacity fee. Not everyone has necessarily read all the documentation. I'd like at some point to suggest that we have the author of the studies, Karen Keys, come and summarize the underlying analytical basis for the fee increases so that the public knows that there was a substantial amount of research and study and analysis that went into it. No more than 5 minutes or so, just to summarize and put that on the record.
Very good. And we should point out that she did that in February. If you would like another review, she can do that. She is here tonight and she can do that again.
I thought we've done that twice. We've had 2 separate council meetings. We've had that. I mean, if we want to go through that again, I'd like to get some consensus on the council, but we've had lengthy discussions of this, and all the paperwork's been, the reports have been done.
The consultant is here. I don't know how much people are paying attention to it, but we're about ready to adopt something that's going to substantially increase. It'll certainly double the capacity fee, and it'll substantially increase the sewer fee. I just think it's good practice to put it on the public record. What the foundation for our report and decision making is. I mean, if there's no consensus that we do that, then I stand opposed to moving ahead with something so significant without a short summary of the research and evidence that supports this significant fee increase.
That's fine. Yeah, sure. 5 minutes.
But just to make clear, we're not doubling the average use fee. I mean, let's make that very clear.
No.
Okay.
The capacity fee, use fee is going up by
15%, $6. Yeah.
Okay, so we're doing the city presentation. So we'd have our consultant come up and give a 5-minute presentation on the analytical basis and sort of summary of sort of the work that was done to come to this conclusion.
Yes, Mayor and Council, our consultant on this is Ms. Karen Keys. She's very knowledgeable in this area, works with several communities, and so it looks like she's just about situated, and we appreciate her hard work. She did a really good job for us. So thank you, Karen. We appreciate your hard work.
Thank you. I will be brief, I promise, because I can be wordy. We went through a very intensive study with city staff on what the actual financial needs are for your sewer utility. The key portions of it are your overall city O&M budget, which is about 1.3 million. This is not changing very much. This is your operations budget pays for your public works staff, gentlemen you see out working on the sewers. This we forecast in this 5 years at increasing it at about 5% per year just to cover inflationary costs. Then we have the City of San Diego metro costs, which are going up significantly because of the beginning of the Pure Water program. We were able to negotiate what we call a protocol with the City of San Diego, which was that the participating agencies, of which you're one, where their contribution to the city metro budget was $65 million a year. This was only supposed to hold for 3 years. I'm happy to say it held for 8. However, with the Pure Water program coming in place, the projection is that the 65 million aggregate for the PAs will go up to 70 and then 75 million over the next 2 years. So that is a significant part of the cost of service analysis that's included in this. So those are the main part of your sewer enterprise fund. And I would like to add the non-operating expenses and talk about the capital improvements. You asked the last time we were here for Mr. Levine and myself to get together with the city manager and determine really how much is needed to maintain your sewer system. You don't want a sewer system like across the street, just like you don't want roads like across the street where they have sewer spills. Those are costly and not environmentally sensitive, definitely. And you have a very good public works staff that does a lot on a very what I would consider tight budget, but they do it well. So in this rate case, the past funding has been 400,000 a year. We're recommending that be increased. Mr. Levine is to 600,000 a year. So that is also part of the increase, but this is needed to you maintain your pump stations. You have some pump stations that need work on them, pipelines, and other appurtenances. The city manager talked about rebuilding your capital reserve. That reserve actually has two different main, shall we say, reasons for existing. The first is an emergency reserve, so you don't have to go out and issue debt for emergency repairs. And that of course, when you issue debt, you end up paying at least a third more for the cost of the repair because you have to pay for the interest expense associated with and the cost of issuance. But also this reserve is used for your ongoing cash flow needs. You bill on the tax roll, and that means you don't get any money for your sewer enterprise, which starts its budget July 1st until January 1st. So you need 6 months worth of operating cash, and you've got about a $4 million total budget. So that reserve not only is there for sewer maintenance, it's also your cash flow reserve so that you pay your bills in the first 6 months of the year. So it is a very important reserve, and that's why you asked whether we should look at 10 years. 5 years we feel is tight, but doable. We also are looking at establishing what we call a replacement reserve. You have your main reserve, your $2 million reserve, which is for large capital projects, but you also have other things that happen to your sewer system that you need to have money, such as if a pump goes out. That's not $1 million project, but there still needs to be money. So we have added $100,000 a year to cover the cost of equipment that needs to be repaired and replaced in there as well. So that's the overall cost of service analysis. We did not change anything to the rate structure. We did a workshop on that and decided that we would maintain the same rate structure. Your revenue requirement, including all the different contributions to reserve, is about $5 million a year for 2000, starting in 2017. It's actually 4.8, and then it increases over the 5-year period of time. I'm not sure if I answered all your questions, but I will be happy to take any additional questions that you might have.
Any questions? Okay. Great. Okay, so thank you so much. It was a very nice, concise, and helpful, informative summary. I'm sorry? Perfect. Awesome. We have a speaker slip, just one speaker slip. If you'd like to speak, you need to submit a speaker slip. So you have to, sir, you have to submit a speaker slip if you'd like to speak. So I have Cheryl Quinones. You guys you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Cheryl Quinones. I live at 1137 Iris Avenue. That was a nice presentation and it brought me to my key points here. I've come tonight to actually protest in the increase of our sewer rate proposals to start in July. It is important to note that our community has listened to our city council year after year and letting the rate increase, understanding that we needed to upgrade our pumps and repair our pipes throughout IB. We all went through the repiping in our neighborhoods that tore up our yards and for me killed my 40-year-old tree. But we let the increase go. We let the percentages rise every month. Last month, Mr. Levine reported the reserve was down due to the substation at Rainbow, but added by the end of June, this June, the reserve would be where it should be. What is not revealed to us, the city, the cost of the treatment plants. There is nowhere listed there how much the treatment plants would cost us. Our community is being squeezed by fees and taxes. Which affects our middle income, low income, no income senior people who live month to month, paycheck to paycheck without knowing all the costs. We are just out there like waiting for the next bomb to hit us. Okay, and so and in doing so, the people that own their home that have retired on a fixed income, like myself, I'm looking at from my annual income, a month and a half of my retirement just to maintain my property tax and taxes and fees, etc. out of my annual income. That's a month and a half. Okay. And for communities that rent, you know, it's a matter of, do I pay my rent because they've increased it, or do I buy a loaf of bread for my child? And so our renters are moving, our owners are moving, and the bottom line is that we can't keep squeezing our community. This big boom that we're having is affecting our town, our small town. Sorry. Mayor, you always come to us and ask us for input. And you also ask us to come prepared with maybe a resolution or come together to find as a community what's best for us. Well, here I come with a solution. We as a community
Ms.
request.
Quinones, your 3 minutes are up, so if you wanted to
We
just
request
summarize.
a no vote on this proposal at this time, and that we look further, and that at this time that we, as a community, stop the boom in our neighborhoods and slow down, because this proposal that she has is for the future, and today we have to live before we get 5 years down the line. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have Norman Lamses. Remember, you have 3 minutes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Please, can you hear me now? Okay. I would make one admonition to you all. I have a little bit of a hearing problem and you all seem to be just talking to yourselves. Please get nearer to the microphones so we understand what you are talking to each other about. That's only an admonition. You don't have to do it, but you could. Anyway, yeah, my main thing that I'm asking about is the pass-through ordinance. Then we have San Diego Gas and Electric comes into this. What is this? There's the question. I mean, you know, you could not argue it right now. The other thing has nothing to do with that, but we have that rail that goes down along the salt flats. What a wonderful thing it would be.
Mr. Norman.
I know it isn't on the end, but
Yeah,
I
I
want to
think
just
you ha-
ask you
for-
to think about what might be done with that.
You have to be focused on the.
Say what?
You have to comment on the item in question.
Well, no, that
Just-
was the only thing. As far as the rates,
Okay.
I'm going to let that be. I will listen to whatever argument somebody else might have on that.
Okay.
I'll yield my time to anybody who wants to use it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Okay. Do we have any additional speaker slips or written protests? I'm going to make a last call for written protests. Great, and I want to just, we have one, so we have one written protest, and that's from Cheryl Porter at 526 Dahlia Avenue. I'll pass it down so the council members can see that. And I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a motion? Yeah, okay, please vote. Okay, so I guess
Councilmember
after the
Bragg,
public hearing, now the council can,
oh,
deliberate,
Councilmember
right,
Bragg,
okay.
please vote. Okay. Motion carried unanimously.
okay, so now we can have council deliberations, right? Mr. Penn?
I'm not sure, maybe, Mr. Hall, when was the last rate increase? Sewer rate increase was, Mr. Hall, Mr. Levine?
Yeah, I think Ms. Keys can probably answer that question the best. The sewer rate increase that the last study we did was approximately 5 years ago, and we did much like we're doing now, implemented it over,
Okay.
each year. And we are nearing the end of that study, which is why this study was promulgated, and that's, again, for the next 5 years.
5-year cycle.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And then the difference between a new development versus a new business, because we want new businesses, and I don't think it's appropriate that we have a new business come in and say, I'm getting hit with this new development fee. Is there a difference?
There is. That's a really good distinction. New development is development that was not on that parcel before. Let's take, for example, where the new hotel is being proposed. What was there before was a set of apartment buildings. So there was a certain amount of affluent that was created by those apartment buildings. They'll get credit for those apartment buildings. But because the hotel is going to be a more intensive use, they'll pay an additional fee for that more intensive use on the system. In Imperial Beach, we don't have a lot of greenfield development where you go out and they develop, something brand new. Most of our lots have had something in it in the past. So a lot of our capacity fee is actually portioned out by what was on the property before and what's being proposed now. So we do have a few areas that are vacant or have been vacant. And when they connect to the sewer system, they pay the full fee. But a lot of times in our community, it's a portion of that fee.
It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, there's very few occasions where it's brand new development in Imperial Beach. This is pretty much a built out community. We do a lot of infill development.
Okay, and then, I'm, listening to the speakers and, the letters, I like everyone, I get notices of sewer, water, trash increases, and, me too. I'm like concerned, and hopefully we could find a balance. And I think we have in the city of Imperial Beach where, we're spreading this out in 5 years, but we also give back. We give back in supporting Sports Park. We give back in the Boys and Girls Club, the Senior Center, doing fitness parks, hopefully dog parks. And I think we find a balance where we're not just gouging. And I hope people can see that. Personally, that's what I feel. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Spriggs?
I don't know who would be the best person to answer a couple of questions I have about this. One is, first one to Mr. Hall. You emphasize that this is an enterprise fund and that it is self-contained and self-funded. You mentioned that if it falls short, we would, one option would be to bond for more money, which is a time-consuming process. Would it also be possible, not that I would want this to be the case, I see it as a risk and a negative, that a shortfall would require support from the city's general fund or one of the general fund reserves? If that were to happen, if we didn't have enough coming in through our fee and enough in our reserves?
That's a great question. We cannot use general fund revenues to operate the sewer department. The answer would be to raise rates or to borrow money inside the sewer enterprise fund. Like it's set up legally as a separate entity, if you will, from the city. It's an enterprise fund. It's self-funding. So I guess to answer your question, there's probably some machinations where you could use some general fund money for an emergency situation. Be very difficult to do anything with the ongoing operation of the sewer department with general funds.
Right. Again, another argument for having the cash flow, the cash flow aspect of having a reserve. The second question has to do with something we have discussed at previous council meetings where we've reviewed this before, and that is with the new rate structure for both the rates and the capacity fee. Where does Imperial Beach now stand vis-a-vis other cities in the county that have similar charges? Are we still pretty much in the middle or lower middle the way we have been, or does this put us as one of the more expensive cities regarding sewer rates and capacity fee charges?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's the same question we had for Ms. Keys. And what we found out is that there is a cluster of cities that are very close to each other in the capacity fees, and we're right in that cluster. There's a few that are higher, very high, and there's only, I think the county is the only one that's significantly lower. One thing that I would say though is that even though we're in that cluster of most of the cities and we're charging about the same sewer fee, we've taken into account the increase in the City of San Diego Pure Water Program. And to my knowledge, none of the other cities have done that yet. So we believe we're going to be very competitive once they have all then changed their fees to take into account the rising price of treating water at the Point Loma treatment facility. Is that fair enough? That's the way it was explained to me. If you want to add to that, you feel free to do so.
The city manager is exactly right. Everybody, San Diego has just announced what they anticipate the increases to be for the PAs. The increase from 65 million to the 70 and 75 million. That has just been announced over the last few months. And so the other participating agencies are in the process of starting their rate studies because they know that they have to incorporate that as well. You are in the process already of your rate study. Lemon Grove is incorporating them. They went with their next rate case to their city council last night. So the two of you are actually the first ones, but everybody else is following in close, shall we say, close pursuit, because they have sewer enterprise funds. They have to increase the fees, and they don't want to spike, wait and spike the fees too much, just in case San Diego does go higher. We're looking at the next 5 years as being pretty stable on the sewer side for the pure water program, but we're also anticipating more cost after that. So you should be, I think, in a very good position at the end of this 5 year to not have to do anything drastic as far as continued increases for the pure water program.
I have one last question, and you really led right into it, and that is, I haven't been on the Metro Wastewater Commission for about a year now. Mr. Bilbray is there in my stead, so I don't have this current information. The Pure Water Program, the participating agencies, all of the participants in the Metro wastewater system, at one point we're going to have to make a decision whether they were going to be owners in the water that was developed in the pure water. In other words, each participating agency's share of wastewater is going to be transformed into a certain amount of pure water to be sold as a part of the water resource, which generates revenue. Is that the trend, and are we going to be able to recoup some revenue at some point in the future? a short answer would suffice,
Short
because I know
answer.
it's,
The short answer is that is what we're negotiating with the city of San Diego right now. The cost allocation is and the finalization of that is about 6 months behind schedule because of the city of San Diego having to go through their water rate increase. The cost allocation got put on hold. So, but the concept of the fact that once the full program is uh, is implemented, and that's, you know, about 20, 30 years down the road, the revenue from that would be shared with the participating agencies for having participated in the upfront cost and putting the program together. There's also the concept that if an agency wants to have ownership of their particular portion of the water that's produced, that they could in fact turn around and sell it. Let's say you wanted to keep your ownership rights and sell it to Cal-Am. That could become a commodity to you. So those are that is still being, the details are being worked out, but that is what we anticipate that we would see 20, 30 years down the road once the line crosses of what the County Water Authority is charging versus what the Pure Water Program water cost would be. So we are still anticipating that.
Councilmember Bragg.
Thank you. Mr. Hall, I'm going to ask you to put a couple of your slides back up for us, if you would, please. With your very first slide of your presentation. I'm sorry, not the manhole. No, even further back, Mr. Hall, just your there. First of all, I want to give the audience and people watching at home assurances that this issue is not taken lightly by any of us sitting up here. And we each met with the city manager and went over this at length. It's a very complex issue. We're all owners, homeowners and renters, so this decision affects us as much as it affects you. Andy, if you would, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions and ask you to kind of go through some things. I did want to thank you for your explanation of an enterprise fund. I'm not sure if everybody understood that. Hopefully you do now. Mr. Hall, if you could just chime in quickly and tell us again what that can and cannot be used for.
Yes, cities sometimes establish funds that are separate from the city. Lots of times it's for utilities, maybe sometimes for a golf course, but they are private. You can think of them as basically private for-profit businesses that the city owns. And so basically they do have to maintain their own funds. They are completely separated from the general fund of the city. It's essentially like the city owns a business, owns an enterprise, and we own the sewer department. And then it has to be self-funded. And that's how that works.
Thank you. If you could go to the slide or maybe just answer the question and explain how much money was saved on the Rainbow Project because we had the funds and that we didn't have to borrow.
Yeah, if we had to go out and borrow $1 million right now, right? One of the things that allows Imperial Beach to continue to be a great community, even though we don't have near the revenues of some of our neighbors, say our neighbors to the north, is that right now this city has no debt on its general fund and no debt on its sewer enterprise fund. And so we're not paying interest to anybody. And that makes a really big difference. It allows us to be stable. If we had to go out right now and sell bonds for $1 million, even the tax exempt bonds are probably in the 4 to 5% range. And so you would be paying 4 to 5% on $1 million, and usually they're 20-year bonds. So we probably would have paid at least, the estimate is it's usually 30% more. So because we are not a large city, we would also have to buy bond insurance because no one wants to buy a municipal bond that's not AAA rated. So you end up buying bond insurance. That'd probably be another couple $100,000. So you end up paying, we probably would have paid about $1.5 million for that $1 million project. We want to avoid that if at all possible.
Okay, so again, that was $1.5 million.
Yeah, just after the interest, we would have also had to buy bond insurance because we're not a large enough system to have anybody invest in our system unless we bought the bond insurance.
Okay, and Ms. Keys, you spoke to that as well. So thank you for your input on that. You know, this represents, you know, keeping with our council policy keeping that in place of our reserve on this with our regard to have sufficient revenue to do the projects that we want to, that we have to. You know, our sewer system is our largest asset. And if we nickel and dime, or if we don't pay attention to that and we don't make the capital improvement projects, this council chamber would be stacked and packed if something goes down. If you can't flush your toilet, believe me, we're going to hear about it. If there's a problem, we're going to hear about it. So what we're doing is maintaining the system to the best of our capability. And Mr. Hall, if you would put up the chart now, there it is. Okay, so the average user fee, and believe me, when we all looked at this individually with the city manager and we saw the increase from $42 to $48, you know, we all gasped. We all thought, gosh, you know, this is an increase for our residents. Hopefully, Mr. Hall has explained it enough and kind of boiled down this report. And believe me, there are a lot more pages to it than what we're just seeing here tonight. And we extrapolated out to 2021. I have to be in support of this. You know, I cannot turn away from not having a properly maintained and functioning sewer system, and also having enough money in reserve that, and we've heard it and we've seen it. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Something will happen. And if I had to sit here and tell this community, well, that project that was $1 million is now going to cost you $1.5 million, would be a very sad day for us. So to me, this is fiscal responsibility. This is being prudent and wise. It's served us well in the past, and I really can't see not following through with this course of action. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, Mayor, if I could add on to that, I think for the mayor and council, the one thing that's missing in this also is we all had a wake-up call in the last 6 months or so watching what happened in Flint. And Flint, Michigan is a scary thing for municipalities. And that basically came from lack of maintenance on that system. And so we certainly don't want to be in that. That's an extreme case. And I'm not making any kind of comparison here because I believe that our public works people have really taken care of our infrastructure very well. But it starts by not properly maintaining the system. These are big investments by our residents. We have an obligation to them to make sure that the system is properly maintained, and that's really important to us. So.
I attended the Chula Vista State of the City yesterday, and it's very clear that Chula Vista is sort of a case of what happens when you don't plan. And all respect to Chula Vista went through this boom and essentially didn't have enough money to pay for investments they needed in street repairs, et cetera. So they have a whole new half of the city. The other half of the city, especially their southwest portion, you know, there's crumbling roads throughout the city, and they frankly have a $70 million deficit, and that they need to come up with that money to fix just to repair roads and bring them up to service and do all the other repairs. So we're one of the few cities, if we're one of the few agencies or entities probably in the country that doesn't use trickery to sort of fool people about how we're paying for things. And frankly, I think it's laudable that our city isn't in debt to Wall Street or the municipal bond market to pay a bunch of guys so a bunch of people can make tons of money off our taxpayers and our city revenues. And the fact that what we're doing is being really honest, and I think it's a little tough. And we're saying is we're not going to charge people $500,000 basically to borrow money to do these projects. And that's what a lot of other cities did. Frankly, that's what happened to Flint. They basically borrowed tons of money. They didn't have enough money to pay their debts. And then an outside controller came in and made some bad decisions about investing in their infrastructure. And that's where they're at. So it's a really good book by Seth Siegel called Let There Be Water. It's a bestseller. And basically what he talks about is Israel completely revitalized its water infrastructure. And basically they looked at efficiency. And what they realized was that essentially the entire country had these aging pipes that were leaking water. And so they really made an investment in their pipes. And frankly, what we're paying for is a 70-year-old system. It's based on clay pipes that uses tons of energy that we have to pay all this money to SDG&E to pump sewage uphill to dump in the ocean, which is arguably the dumbest thing that you can do. And so there's a reason why cities are now looking at reclaiming water so that you don't have to spend all that energy cost. So anyway, hopefully we're making an investment in having less rate increases in the future by doing these investments now, especially this idea of sending groundwater to dump in the ocean. That drives me crazy, especially this idea of a drought. So anyway, I applaud our city staff and more importantly, this council for taking this tough decision and actually doing the right thing so we don't end up paying all this money to Wall Street. And I think that's it for me. I think it's a tough thing. And I recognize that this is an increase. But again, like I said, a lot of government agencies, especially our state, they use a lot of tricks and do things to pretend that they're not really charging people for the increase. But you have to pay it at some point because all that money, all those interest rate payments basically take away for essential city services. So anyway, any additional comment? Do I have to, I closed the public hearing, so is that public hearing closed for both 3.1 and 4.1?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'd like to move forward then. No additional comments. I'd like to call for introduction of ordinance number 2016-1156.
Ordinance number 2016-1156, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Imperial Beach, California, adopting revised sewer service rates for sanitary sewer service and amending sections of Chapter 13.06 of the Imperial Beach Municipal Code pertaining to the sewer service charges.
I would like to entertain a motion to dispense first reading of ordinance number 2016-1156 by title only and set the manner of adoption at the next regularly scheduled city council meeting. Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Okay, so we have a second thing to do. I'd like to call for a motion for the adoption of resolution number 2016-7703, setting the sewer capacity fee for development in the city of Imperial Beach at $5,373. Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
I want to thank the city staff and also city council for their patience in me. This is the most complicated items I've had to figure out the protocol for. So anyway, thank you for walking me through that. The issue of public protest was new for me. So anyway, now we have item 4.2, and that's public hearing on resolution number 2016-7701 of the City of Imperial Beach, California, adjusting a regional transportation congestion improvement plan, RTCIP fee for fiscal year 2016-2017. Public hearing's open. Mr. Levine will give the report.
Mayor and council, I think the information that in the staff report is hopefully clear. I'll just give a quick summary. The Transnet program for funding streets for the County of San Diego was adopted with an amendment then in 2006, I believe, and in 2008 we had to comply with that by putting an exaction fee on any new single-family residence within the cities or within every city in the county. In our city, it was set at $2,000 by ordinance, by Prop A ordinance, and then it was to be adjusted annually, effective July 1st of every year by a construction fee index. Construction management index. I forget the right title of it, but there's an index that's for construction. And if it's less than 2%, it must be set at 2%. And you would, this council's adopted that every year. And this year, we are required to increase it by another 2% per the ordinance. And we're recommending that you set it at $22,357 per new single-family residence built in this city.
Yeah, and we just emphasize that again is on new single-family homes, not any existing remodeling or anything like that.
Are there any speakers, please?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Questions from the council?
A comment. In the under the executive summary, it's noted that if the fee is to be used for capital improvements And if they're not used, they have to be returned to Sandag. So I was at a Sandag meeting, at the Transportation Committee meeting, and Imperial Beach was named as, a city that had not used their fund yet. And so, I love Sandag to death, but I don't want them to have their eyes on any of our money. So I'm glad we are moving forward with this. Mr. Levine, thank you for your attention to detail on this matter. And I would move adoption.
Okay, Mr. Spriggs had one comment for that.
So, Mr. Levine, just to confirm, this is a part of a regional fee structure, the Sandag ordinance. It's not something that's just up to Imperial Beach.
It's a regional County of San Diego ordinance approved by the voters of the County of San Diego back in 2006, I think it was.
Right. And secondly, would this apply, the increase apply to new developments like Bernardo Shores, or are they already in under the old and others that are already been through the permitting process under the old or the new system?
This increase in dollars you're talking about, or the fee itself?
This increase.
This increase, I'm not sure where Bernardo Shores is in the permitting process, but once, and maybe, I don't know if Steve can help me the exact time in their approval process, they pay that, but I don't know that they paid it yet.
Mayor, members of council, Steve Dush, we would assess the fee at the time that they come and pick up the application. So unless they have an application that's in, when an application is in, they would effectively vest that cost. So if the building permits have not been in, and for Bernardo Shores, those building permits I don't believe have been in yet.
We should point out this fee is not effective until July 1st of 2016.
All right. That was my question. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. I would like to enter, I'm sorry.
Councilmember Bragg made a motion. I'll second that motion.
Great, okay, please vote. Do I need to read it before we vote, or are we okay? Okay, good.
Motion carried unanimously.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.